I came to live in Japan in 1979, but previous to that, I had visited Kobe maybe 7 or 8 different times. I used to be a merchant seaman, so I came here by ship. Kobe was well known in the shipping industry for your local water.
Before the earthquake, Kobe was a very friendly city. We all knew each other, and we had special restaurants and places that all of us used to gather.
C'était une ville gaie. Il y avait plus de couleurs, il y en a plus aujourd'hui aussi, mais c'est également une ville où on trouvait beaucoup plus d'étrangers, donc on y était un peu plus à l'aise, voilà. Il y avait de la familiarité, si tu veux.
A very vibrant town with lots and lots of foreigners. It was very cosmopolitan, and it changed a lot after the earthquake.
You probably know the earthquake happened at 5:47 in the morning. And I'm from Chicago, and we're not used to earthquakes. So when the earthquake happened, I had no idea what was going on.
Je venais de retourner des États-Unis où j'étais en coloc. J'ai acheté un ordinateur que j'ai installé jusqu'à 4h30 du matin. Et fini, je m'apprêtais à dormir et c'est là que c'est arrivé.
I was sleeping, it was early in the morning, and suddenly the whole room started to shake.
I woke up, I had no idea what was happening.
I thought I was dreaming.
I jumped out of the bed just in time.
I shouted out to my father.
My stereo and my speakers, they fell on my bed.
But I put my son under my arm, and on our way out the door, we're living in a 2-story Japanese bunka jutaku. Typical Japanese apartment.
N'arrivant pas à me mettre debout, donc marcher à 4 pattes, sauter sur les enfants, les prendre, couverture et sous la table. Voilà ce qui était notre première réaction.
I remember, I'll never forget this, it was so quiet outside.
So once I walked out of my house, it was crazy. Everybody was on the street, and it was a very emotional moment.
My son is under my arm, and on the way out the door, this is January, cold, and I grabbed our 2 big jackets and 2 pairs of boots out the door and into the street. And we're in the street for maybe 45 minutes, and everybody's out, all the neighbors, everybody's in the street. Tsunami. I'm hearing this word tsunami. I don't know what this word tsunami is.
Je me souviens, mon japonais n'était pas aussi bon qu'il l'est aujourd'hui, mais au moins j'ai retenu qu'il disait tsunami shinpai irimasen, donc il n'y a pas à s'en faire parce que le tsunami n'est pas là.
My husband was huddled over me. He said I was making really weird noises, like animal noises that were coming from like deep inside of me. And after those few seconds, we were just holding each other.
Shaking and the trembling is not nearly as serious as at the actual moment.
Et puis ça s'arrête un peu, on se dit ça y est, c'est calme, et puis vous avez encore ça de nouveau.
And we both looked at each other, and we were like, did that really happen?
But nothing to do but go back into the house. The shoebox behind the door had fallen behind the door. The door could be opened a little bit, a few inches. So I managed to get my hand behind the door and push this thing out of the way, and we came back into the house.
Et c'est plus tard qu'on a vu, la plus grande panique, c'était quand on a perdu toutes les communications. Donc le téléphone ne passait plus, on ne savait vraiment pas quoi faire.
Entered the house, everything is totally upside down, and I'm looking at my son, and his eyes are going from small, ordinary, usual size, bigger and bigger.
I remember standing up and looking out of the window, and my husband said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're standing."
One of the scariest memories is my house has a beautiful view of Kobe, and that evening of the earthquake, I could see fire, and I felt like I was in a war zone.
We walked above our house in the mountains, and we were able to see the whole panorama view of Kobe, and we saw all the fires that were happening early in the morning.
Many things things were not in English. They were all in Japanese. I speak Japanese, so I was lucky, and I helped many people with translation.
And he said to me, he says, Papa, what are we going to do now? I said, well, we're going to finish our tea and we're going to go back to bed, because if this happens again, it will only waken us up again. So we're going to go back to sleep.
Some of my friends went to the Kobe city and offered their help in interpreting for some foreigners, and they were told they didn't need any foreigners to help with the interpretation. They wanted to train the university students to become professional interpreters.
So after the earthquake, I would visit my father in Chicago, and before the earthquake, I never noticed buses going past my dad's apartment. But my body got so sensitive to movement, I guess, that every time a bus would drive past my father's apartment, I would jump. I would kind of freak out thinking that it was an earthquake.
And then I saw one lady outside her broken home. She had saved a rice cooker, and she was selling the rice because she was trying to save herself. And at that time, I bought the rice from her, 2 rice balls and 1 sausage. 21 years ago, it cost me 1,000 yen. And I was just so happy that I had the 1,000 yen to buy the rice balls. And I was hoping that money will help her.
Et là, on a dû se rendre compte d'une chose, un grand support du côté des Japonais, ça en faveur des étrangers.
My other friends, they went to the evacuee center, and they couldn't stay there because they were vegetarians, and all the food was non-veg.
It was beautiful because everyone was helping everybody. I will never forget that. Like, everybody was on the street with whatever they have, water, cookies.
And they didn't care whether you were Japanese or you were not Japanese, especially those people that had been affected. We're all humans, we're all the same, you know?
Yeah, there was a community bond. Yeah, so that's what I meant to say. Even being a foreigner, you become friends with strangers, because right now you're working for one focus, one purpose, one goal.
The thing about being the only foreigner never really crossed my mind, because
we all became one. There was no separation, I felt.
Qu'aura apporté, à mon avis, le tremblement de terre, ou qu'est-ce que ça aura beaucoup changé dans la vie des Japonais d'une manière générale?
It brought us, Kobe, everybody together. Because I remember maybe 3 or 4 days after the earthquake going into Sanemiya, and all the shopkeepers were outside selling food. Kobe City Hall opened up the doors for foreigners to make international calls that were free.
there were, of course, many, many other foreigners using KDD to make their free international telephone calls. I made a few myself home and to some other friends in different parts of the world.
Ce dont je me souviendrai beaucoup plus de ce tremblement de terre, c'est le fait d'avoir éveillé une conscience vers des actions communautaires.
Even the Japanese people, until then, they never did volunteer activities, but they learned how important volunteer activities were. And after the earthquake, many, many more people are volunteering for different things, which they never did before.
On parlera ici du comportement des Japonais après, au-delà du tremblement de terre, c'est de pouvoir s'associer avec d'autres personnes. Et ça a servi tout naturellement d'exemple aux tremblements de terre qui ont suivi après celui de Kobe.
Personally, the earthquake for me brought me something brand new. From the time of the earthquake, about 1 month later, I was helping in the construction of cassette jutakus. These are like prefabricated houses sent in by the government, earthquake relief.
Mais par rapport à la ville elle-même, elle est à mon avis beaucoup plus accessible en ce moment en temps de tremblement de terre, en temps de désastre. Et on a par exemple dégagé la côte vers la mer. Ça c'est également un autre changement. On a vu venir des grands bâtiments avec des grands espaces verts.
I like to remember the positive things. Before the earthquake, I used to collect a lot of crystal, and it broke in the earthquake, and it stopped me from wanting these kind of things. Yeah, so that would be the positive effect. that we don't need material things to live with, and just to become a better human being. Yeah, we suffered together, so we grow together.
The houses were open and we were out, but there were no robbers. People did not take advantage of that situation. That's so beautiful. So the trust, and I think that is why this country is looked upon. It's the trust.
I remember going to the grocery store a day or 2 days after the earthquake, and everyone was standing in the line. There was no fighting. There was no people fighting for food. Not like in America, where I'm from, where there's a natural disaster and people are breaking into buildings and stealing and looting. Japanese people were so calm, and it just really, really changed my whole impression of Japanese.
The road was broken, and when I walked around, about a few hours later, it was completely fixed. And I was so impressed by the Japanese people fixing the important things right away. I went to San Francisco soon after that, and San Francisco also suffered an earthquake, but things weren't repaired. Now, if this was in India, it would have taken years for things to be repaired.
Some people had actually packed up and gone home. It never really crossed my mind to think about leaving at that time. No.
Running away from things is not the answer. I chose to stay here and make this a better place than it was before in my own little way, you know?
I didn't have any interest to go back to the States. It was just an earthquake and life goes on. And my father wanted me to move back to the States, but my life is in Japan. Japan is my home.
C'est 95, nous a mis à l'école, de nous connaître et de savoir comment réagir en temps des désastres, en temps des difficultés.
We have to put aside our differences and remember that we're all people. And we can't forget, we have to work together.
They don't forget to take care of their citizens, to make sure everyone is warm and safe, you know, and just the Gambaru spirit, everyone's helping everybody.
La ville est un endroit où on est toujours à côté de l'inconnu. Profitons-en pour faire de cet inconnu un ami.
Just be patient, be understanding, and be giving. It's not just about you, but it's about everybody.
Transparency supersedes and will bring a greater understanding to the meaning of the word internationalization, not only for us here, Kobe, Tohoku, or wherever, but for pretty much for all of us all over the world.
It's like if you overcome cancer, you can understand someone who has cancer. So really, I think they should learn from the people of Kobe. And this experience is very nice. We should talk about it so other people can learn from it. Yeah.